Okay, so here we are. We're going to talk about Ernest Hemingway, The Old Man and the Sea. Somebody else begin.
I loved the book. I was the one who selected it, and this was my first time reading Hemingway. I thought his writing, it was so crisp. You know, it was just so crisp. You knew exactly what he was writing about. It was short. It was, I really appreciated it. I mean, it wasn't one of those books that I sat down, even though it was short, I didn't sit and actually I just finished it up today before the meeting. Like, so it wasn't like, oh, I got to get to this, but I liked it.
Yeah, I did too. I've read this before, and so it was nice to read it again. I think this was his last book, wasn't it?
I don't know.
Well, near the end, I think it was. He has a way of describing things, and the story between him and the young boy at the beginning, very touching. I mean, you really begin to feel for the guy, you know, and you wonder how much of this is real or in his head. But it's really beautiful. I highlighted some sections and sentences, and it's really pretty incredible what he did, because the majority of this is just description or him talking to himself, right? Because he's off in the boat by himself. So to be able to pull this off is not easy. I mean, clearly Hemingway spent a lot of time on the water. He knows his world he knew this world very well. But I mean, this man he's just a master. He was just a master.
I feel like totally the opposite. I think I wrote down, if I received this manuscript as a submission at Blydyn Square Books, I would add it to the laughably bad pile and use it for
what?
And it's one of the worst things I've ever read. I hated every.
What?
Are you serious?
I thought it was horrible. I mean, first of all, I'm screaming, show don't tell the entire time. Does the man know commas exist? Because clearly
that's the way he writes, though, Tara. That's just the way he
and it's bad, and I hate it.
Yeah, but I thought you could feel it. Like, I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Oh God. I felt nauseated by the bad writing.
Oh, I thought you could feel it, and I thought it was like a parallel to life itself, like, yeah. You know, that
it was boring enough to be like life itself. Yeah.
What's that?
And I thought it was so like, God, it's so boring. Fishing is notoriously dull, yet we have to sit through and watch someone fish in torturous detail. And then I wrote an expletive.
Yeah, but it's boring because it's not your passion. Like, for somebody who's passionate about it, it was like the bigger the fish that you could get, the more it's said about your skill. And, like, you know, he was passionate about fishing. It was his life.
That and drinking. Yeah, drinking.
Well, Hemingway, yes. And
yeah, but he wasn't drinking in the story. I mean, he didn't have. He wasn't drinking in the the character wasn't straight. What was the guy's name? Santiago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, off Cuba, right?
Yeah, he didn't drink.
No. I'm just Hemingway in general was a big drinker.
Yeah. I heard that he was. You know, he was an alcoholic, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Christine, did you have comments?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not a Hemingway fan. I found myself skimming places where he was talking about the fish, the process of fishing, but I like the way the story's told. I like the way it's written quite a bit. I like the minimalist style. And I like on page 29 in my book, he is fond of flying fish, he says. And then he says he was sorry for the birds, especially the small, delicate, dark terns that were always flying and looking and almost never finding. And he thought, the birds have a harder life than we do, except for the robber birds and the heavy, strong ones. Why did they make birds so delicate and fine as those sea swallows when the ocean can be so cruel? And I thought that set up the book quite a bit for me, is this cruelty of nature. Like, I was so into it when he was killing those sharks.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so into it. I was like, yeah, I was really into it. And then he loses the harpoon, one shark, and then he's out of the harpoon. Like, I didn't know what a lot of things were. Like, I had to look, I would have had to look up some of the terminology for some of the things on the boat. But they teach this to freshmen at my school. I borrowed this book from one of the freshman teachers. And I would think a child would find this very boring, you know, like a ninth grader, especially if you're not into fishing, you know, because in the end, there's all the Christ imagery too. Like, there's all that. He's carrying the wood. He's got the stigmata on the hands.
Oh, yeah, he did. He said about having his nails.
Yep. Yep. And he's carrying the cross, like he's carrying that wood thing. So he's like a, you know, a saint. And I posted about this in Twitter too, that I read Old Man in the Sea again.
I was thrilled. I'm going to read you. I'm going to read you one of the questions. Let's see where.
Oh boy.
Oh
okay.
boy, yeah, here we go.
All right. It says, describe Hemingway's portrayal of Santiago's relationship with the sea. Hemingway focuses on the connections between Santiago and his natural environment. The fish, birds, and stars are all his brothers or friends. He has the heart of a turtle, eats turtle eggs for strength, and drinks shark liver oil for health. The connection with the sea and its creatures helps Santiago in the midst of his great tragedy. For Santiago, success and failure are two equal facets of the same existence. They are transitory forms which capriciously arrive and depart without affecting the underlying unity between himself and nature. As long as he focuses on this unity and sees himself as part of nature rather than as an external antagonist competing with it, he cannot be defeated by whatever misfortune befalls him.
Where'd you find that? Spark Notes?
It's in question, like it's questions discussing the book. No, but I think that it's interesting. Okay, how do I get back here?
No, my question is, like, I felt like just the man, like his, and like the dialogue and just even his internal dialogue, just, is he meant to be like not quite there, like somewhat mentally disabled? Because like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the boy too, both, like, it's like when they're having a conversation, I'm like going, oh my God, like it's like either two really small children or people who aren't quite, you know, like quite there.
Well, this is his
there's something wrong.
He's been out in the sea for like 84 days. He's in the middle of nowhere. He's eating like raw fish that he catches. There's like sun. He's, you know, he hasn't had a shower.
But he was like that when he was like that at home.
Before that.
Yeah,
and it is written
didn't
like
get any crazier.
Yeah, the part I read sort of emphasizes that. The part I read aloud, just like the thought process is really like, why do they make birds so delicate and fine? You know, like, and the thought process seems like a child's almost.
Like a child's. Yeah,
it does. I could see that. That thought there, that Santiago is, I guess, simple in that way. Even the first line, right? He was an old man who fished alone in a skiff in the Gulf Stream, and he had gone 84 days now without taking a fish. It's just very simple, almost like a little fairy tale, the way it's written. And I do like that. I
like simple writing, and I like conversational writing, and I don't like flowery, over the top, overwritten stuff. But this is horrible. Yeah, but I just hate it. And like it reads like someone who's never read a book before has written this. Like, I get a lot of submissions from people who clearly don't read, like their dialogue like this. I at one point I wrote, Ernie, do you know that contractions exist? Because people do not say I can't find, like, people don't talk this way in real life. I will go. You don't talk. Nobody. No, I will eat at home.
But listen to the fire.
I will
Listen
make
to
it
the
bigger.
language, so beautiful though.
It's, well, I
So
don't,
beautiful. It's
what's beautiful about it? It
listen
sounds
to
like
this. Listen, I'll read you.
some drunk children
Then
talk.
this is when he's killing the fish. This is so beautiful. Like
I thought that was
then,
the biggest anticlimax I've ever read in my whole life, too. It was like you're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for him to kill the fish, and then he's like, boop, boop, done. It was
No,
like
that's not what he did. He didn't just like boop and that was done. He
there was no drama to it at all.
was
I was like, oh my God, that's it. I'm like, that's it.
He was stabbing a fish in the middle of, like, in between his, like,
oh, it's amazing.
That was the sharks, but with
Shark, yeah, well,
fish, he was just like, boop, and it was like, really, after all.
No, he said that then the fish came alive with his death in him. That's so beautiful. And rose high above out of the water, showing all his great length and width and all his power and his beauty. He seemed to hang in the air above the old man in the skiff. Then he fell into the water with a crash that sent spray across the old man and over all of the skiff. How could you say that's not dramatic? Like, that's so dramatic and beautiful.
To me, it reads like someone is like half asleep and going, and he was reading it. It reads to me like, I don't know. I mean, to me, that's the opposite of drama. I thought it was. I literally wrote, I can't find the place, but I literally wrote, it's like, the only worst anticlimax I think I've ever read was in Dracula. Like when they finally get him and you're just like, like,
I think either you like Hemingway or you don't. And
I knew I didn't like Hemingway, but
I've always liked Hemingway. But I mean, he's very, very depressing. Listen, and especially his early books. This one isn't even as depressing as his other ones.
No, I mean,
I think that he was saying, though, I mean, just like as a parallel to life, that people work their whole lives. I mean, like, you don't get the fishing. I don't really get the fishing either. But
I like fishing. That's the thing. I like fishing. So if you can make me think fishing is really boring.
Well, fishing is really boring. I mean, I think fishing is boring. Like, to me, it is.
So I don't. So that if I hated it, it must be like, okay. Here I wrote when he killed the fish. I said, talk about an anticlimax. It lands like a wet sock flop. Like, to me, there was nothing there.
I thought that. I mean, like, the fishing to him was like a conquest. It was like, it was a struggle and it was a conquest.
I think that's how it is in real life. And I think that this doesn't show that. I think he doesn't show anything. I think he tells this entire story.
What he's showing is an old man at the end of his life, at the end of his powers, with a final, effort to show himself in the world that still has some strength and power left. Sorry about my dog. And he's up against this big, fish, and that's the object. And this is just his final. And at the end, he's got nothing left to him.
Theme, and I think it's a great idea, and I think he did not pull it off.
Didn't he win like a Nobel Prize for this?
Well, you don't win a Nobel Prize for a book. You win it for a body of work. He won the Pulitzer for this in 1950.
And just shows you how bad he did. Yeah. I don't. I hated it.
Actually, I felt he didn't do telling. I didn't feel that there was any telling in here. I thought it was all showing.
Yeah, I thought it was the opposite. I didn't see any show. I
the whole thing was a scene. The entire thing was a scene. There was very little.
But it was just him talking to himself. I mean, like.
Who else can he talk to? He's out on the boat.
Actually, no.
But show some action. Do something.
He won the Pulitzer. He won the Pulitzer for this in 1953 and the Nobel in 1954.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of his bigger works, though, came earlier than that.
Yeah.
Like the first one, The Sun Also Rises, 1926, A Farewell to Arms, 1929, For Whom the Bell Tolls, 1939. So this is a later work of his, The Old Man.
He was published very early in his 20s. So he was a prodigy. Those are very, very depressing books. Have you read them recently?
I have not. Any of them.
Are they really Did you find this one depressing?
Me?
Yeah.
Not, as I said, I didn't find it as depressing as his earlier ones, believe it or not. Because actually, he did get the fish. He just couldn't bring it back in one piece. But he did everything he could to bring this fish back. he used everything on that skiff to try to kill those sharks, didn't he?
And he
He really had
did.
nothing left. So I thought it was a beautiful sort of paean, or whatever you want to call it, whatever the word is, to an old man's dignity. And I don't know. I didn't find it quite as depressing as early ones. So if you want to read a really depressing book, read his two early ones. But they're very beautiful.
Which one?
That very well, The Sun Also Rises, and what was the second one you said, Christine?
Farewell to Arms.
Farewell to Arms.
Farewell to Arms.
For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Yeah. Farewell to Arms is set in the war. Well, most of them are set in the war.
Yeah.
But it's just so, I mean, the way it ends is so depressing.
Which one is that?
Farewell to Arms. That's a character set in World War I of an ambulance driver, which is what he was. Hemingway. He was an ambulance driver in the war. Meets a nurse. I won't tell you the whole thing. Meets a nurse, and what happens within their relationship. But it's all the same style. It's all this simplistic. Not a lot of adjectives and adverbs. Strung on sentences, subjects, nouns, verbs. It's just his style.
I kept thinking that it was such a parallel to life, like that, like somebody who, not necessarily a fisherman, but strives and accumulates like all this wealth. And like, you think that you're going to get this big fish, so to speak, and that everything is going to be right with your life. And then all of a sudden there's sharks that come, everybody wants a piece. It's kind of like you could compare it to like Ayn Rand, like Atlas Shrugged, where everybody wants a piece of what it is that you've caught, and you spend your whole life like trying to protect what it is that you've achieved, what you've accomplished.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just wanted to read it because I had never read Hemingway before. And I said, okay, like I would like to read Hemingway just so I'm familiar. And I told my husband, like he doesn't read, but I told him that I'm sure there's a movie. I said, yeah, I think he would like it. Like, I think it just like the struggle.
But how boring this movie would be, though. I mean, it's just a guy sitting in a boat. Would that be 2 hours of a dude sitting in a boat for like 3 seconds of, oop, fish dead?
That really wasn't. It wasn't.
Yeah, no, but it could be interesting because there's that battle with the sharks and everything. And remember Tom Hanks in Castaway? He was like silent in that for like, oh my God, like an hour and a half. Maybe you don't want to.
No, probably not.
Well, I mean, it wasn't just boop that he hit the fish and it was over. I mean, he was like, his hands were bloody. He was like, he was really bad.
I like what I like.
He has been hugely influential, though, Hemingway. I mean, there's a whole string of writers that's followed what he's done.
I know, and they're also
Have any of you ever read Cormac McCarthy?
No.
No Country for Old Men?
I've heard him remarked upon a lot. Cormac, actually, that's who we should pick next.
Because No Country for Old Men, is that what it's called?
Yeah. And there's a movie about. I mean, if you want to be like,
that movie is great.
It is crazy and depressing. It's like, whoa.
Who's in that?
Oh, it's that freaky guy.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones.
What's his name? Oh, he's Hispanic.
Yeah, he is.
Javier Bardem.
I will never forget that character. Oh.
What was and who's the author?
It's not a cheerful movie though. It is not cheerful.
No shit.
Like the things you want to happen at the end to bad people. I don't want to give it away. I mean,
no. Well, yeah. Are we going to read? Is that what we're thinking? That we're gonna, because we got to pick something.
Well, you're not going to like it, Tara.
Well, do I like anything?
I mean, yeah. No. Well, that's what I wanted to know. Like, I think Tara should pick the next book.
What did
I pick the last time, and nobody liked that?
Who did Olive Kitteridge?
I did.
No, we all liked
Olive Kitteridge.
Okay, I picked Olive Kitteridge. Well, I don't know, because I wouldn't want to pick something I've already read because, I'm reading that Jodi Picoult one now. The
Book of Two Ways.
Yeah, I'm reading that now.
What do you think about that?
it's slower than her usual stuff, but I like Egyptology, so
I like Egyptology too. She just overdid it.
yeah. I mean, I'm only not even. I'm probably 100 pages in max.
She just overdid it. She had potential. It could have been better, I think.
So Tara, what's like your favorite book? Like, do you
I
have
don't
a favorite?
have a favorite, no.
Because like for me, like I have a white olive. Olive is one of mine.
Yeah, definitely.
And
I loved Olive Kitteridge. Like I still
that's one of my favorites. Yeah, but I also like and I'm not sure I could read this again. Anna Karenina.
I love Anna Karenina, but I wouldn't want. Yeah, it's too much to read.
It's to pick up again. You know what I mean? Like I tried reading Middlemarch again. I love George Eliot.
I read that again.
It's just too when they're that long and slow. It's hard.
She is hard reading.
Yeah,
and I love her. George Eliot.
Yeah.
Middlemarch.
Have you ever read Henry James? Oh my God, is he fit?
I love Henry James, but he's slow and long.
Oh.
And
he was a little bit lighter. Oh, we were talking about this, Tara. Edith Wharton.
Yeah.
We were talking
Edith
about
Wharton
her.
is my favorite.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's definitely my favorite.
Is that what did she? Is that what did she?
Age of Innocence.
Age of Innocence is probably what everybody would know. House of Mirth.
Age of Innocence is her best. She won the Pulitzer for that one. That's one of her. I think that's one of her best. That one and House of Mirth are very good. What I like about her is that she deals with, and Henry James did this too, but he deal with like the upper mobility in early America. Mm-hmm. And I like that. It's like in one of the scenes, for example, in Age of Innocence, they go to St. Augustine, Florida, and my family lives there. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. They went to the beach. You know, they would go away to like they do things that we do, yet it was so long ago. That's why I love reading those books. I'm like, oh my God, in the 1860s, they did this, and that's what I do now, you know?
I like that too. And by the way, my family lives in St. Augustine. They live in Jacksonville, like close to St. Augustine.
Oh my gosh. We could meet down there.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
That's funny.
Well, I mean, she's probably one of my favorites. But
Edith Wharton, somebody else I haven't read. So
give her a shot.
Well, we should do Age of Innocence one time.
Yeah, put that on the list. That'd be great. But I do think, Jim, I think there's Cormac McCarthy. I have never gotten into his.
No,
and I hear
either.
Such great things about him. And I've heard he's kind of hard though because he uses as a model Faulkner. And some of his works I've heard can be a little tricky because I used to teach AP Lit. And they had an excerpt of one of McCarthy's novels on the AP test. And I forget what it was, but it had like a moment like this coyote had died. And there was this stream of consciousness thing going on with these ghosts and this wolf and coyote and all this like stream of consciousness. Is his writing like that? Is it Faulknerian?
I find it more Hemingway, Ian, whatever. But I think there's a bit of a mix there. What's that?
So he likes both guys. They were Hemingway and Faulkner knew each other anyway.
Yeah, I think if you pick up No Country for Old Men, you're going to see Hemingway right away. I think you'll see a little bit of Faulkner later, and the darkness of his books, definitely Hemingway. Very dark.
Don't you find though that most books are dark? Like, we were in another book club and there was a lady, she always proclaimed herself not a reader. And she said, let's read something happy. And they're like, how many books are there that you know that are like happy?
Right, that are considered good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's got to be something. There's some sort of struggle or climax.
It has to be, yeah.
Well, I remember I read this thing. I'm not crazy about Jane Austen, but I like her enough, and she always has the struggle, and it always ends well with her. Yeah. And I remember reading because I love short stories, and in one of the literary mags, this one woman they interview writers in this particular magazine I love, and she was saying that I'm like Jane Austen. I like to I'll make my characters struggle, but I like to make them happy. I like to give them a good ending. And I thought about that when I was writing my book, because there's parts where it is depressing, but I wanted some growth in the characters in a way that wasn't going to leave the reader despondent, you know, like I like growth in characters, and growth is always a good thing. So there's a happy ending in that regard, you know. I kind of stand by them in that way. I do. Like,
But that you want like happy end, like your stories to have happy endings?
like a growth, that the characters had a moment of growth and awareness, and that even if they end like I wrote this short story. This is based on another story I read, so this is not something I've experienced with. It's about a prostitute and this guy, and at the end of the story, no, and he's from the military and he's on leave, so he goes to this place. The girl's a stripper, but she's a prostitute also, you know, and he knows her boyfriend who has died. He died in an IED. And he figures out later after he's been with her once that he had died. And they sort of develop a sort of relationship, like she's attracted to him. It's told in her point of view. And she says toward the end, do you think you could like someone like me? Like, she doesn't say it like that. I wrote it much better than that.
Yeah.
But she says, like, along the lines of, do you think it would bother you, you know, to have a girlfriend like me? And he said yes, that it would bother him. And because the guy he had been friends with before, who died in the IED, like he had a problem with it. Originally, I guess he was okay. And after all, he was like, look, you know, I don't want you to be a stripper anymore. And but the story ended where they're just like, they kiss each other, and then it ends. And one of her friends says, hey girl, don't go falling in love. And it ends. And somebody on Facebook who read it typed out, it's sad, but it has hope in it. And I thought about that, and I'm like, it doesn't really have a lot of hope, because he said it would bother him to be with a woman like that, you know. But at the same time, like, they kiss at the end, and I try to always have something like a little uplift in mind, where it's not, because I have a lot of people that say my stories are sad, but
I think that it should, like, you know, that there should be at least a message or something, like, you know, that I don't mind if it's like sad. Like, I keep thinking about like Jodi Picoult in the my sister's keeper.
oh, I never read that one.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
See, Tara, there's a book that Tara.
I mean, it's not like great literature or anything, but it's cute, and I liked it.
I just liked I love when an author like has a twist at the end, you know, when they actually surprise me with something that I didn't see coming. Like, I like when it's not predictable. But I mean, it doesn't always have to be. I'm curious, Tara, when you finish the book of Two Ways, like, let me know what you think of the ending.
Okay. I just started it a couple days ago, so. And I'm reading that and two other things at the same time, so it's just, you know, it's chaos.
So what's one of your favorite? What did you say one of your favorite books is?
I like Edith Wharton. I don't know. It's hard for me to remember. I can never remember off the top of my head what I like. You know what I mean? Like, I like a lot of things, but like, I never like the things you're supposed to like. I always like the trashy things rather more than, you know, like, and I feel like there aren't a lot of male writers that I like, because I think that they think that, like, they don't know how to write feelings. Like I like John Irving, but he cannot write. He has he's very good at writing a story and telling you what's going on, but he cannot write feelings. Like, it's like his characters are just like, I am doing this now, and there's like no sense of how they feel.
Who's this?
John Irving.
I don't like him.
I mean,
he wrote The World According to Garth, right?
And I think most of his books could be about half the length and would be much better. He needs an editor, is what he needs. But I like his stories in general. But I think he cannot, and I think most men can't. No offense, Jim. I think that most men have a lot of trouble writing the way people really think and feel. Like
wow.
I think they just kind of.
I know, real. That's like, is that? I think
focus,
that's a little sexist.
I'm not general. Hey.
Wow, I see. One of my favorites is, well, you guys haven't heard of William Trevor, have you? Or even James Joyce.
I have.
Like
Oh,
they,
Well, yeah, I like James Joyce, but I
really get it. They
portrait,
get right
but
at the
I hate
heart.
everything else. Yeah. No. I feel like, well, I don't know. I mean,
okay.
I think there are some here and there, but I feel like most male writers that I've read, it's kind of like there's action and story, but there's no sense of what the person is thinking or what their motivations are. And it's kind of like, just, it's like very.
How about Nicholas Sparks? I mean, that's like, I mean, that's about as sappy as you can get, though. Well, I mean, that's feelings and.
He cannot write to save his life, and he laughs all the way to the bank. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah.
I can't get past that. Yeah.
I don't know if he's still coming out with books. So you know what he did right though? He wrote a book called 3 Weeks with My Brother. That was really it was true. It was him and his brother took like they traveled together. They were both men were married and had families, but they decided to take a trip together, and it was a true story, and he really gave insight into how he became a writer and the family that he grew up in. That was good. I haven't even has he even come out with anything like as of late, like I mean, he used to spit them out.
I know. Yeah, we read one for a book club back in like 2000 or 2001, and that's the only one I ever read of his, because it was just so sappy.
Yeah, it is sappy. He is very sappy, but it's feelings, like you just said, that no men write feelings.
But there's fake feelings, and then when you're doing it clearly just to be sappy, to try to get women to buy the book, I think that's not real feelings. That's being manipulative, and I don't like people trying to play me.
I'm gonna have to think about like male writers that write.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm sure there are some good ones. It's just that I feel like most of the time it's like they're not even trying to get to convey any sort of emotion. They're just, I think it's and again, this is a generalization, but just my experience, I think a lot of men, not all, a lot though, don't really know what they're feeling, and therefore it's hard for them to express it because they don't really know. I
thought there was tons of feelings in The Old Man and the Sea. I mean,
there was feelings better than I hate women. I mean, for a story with no women in it, it's amazing how misogynistic he was able to get.
Where did you get that he hated women?
Oh my God. Okay, you didn't notice that he calls all the passive things, the sea, the birds, these things are she. But the active things like the sharks and whatever are he. So all the things that are vital and alive and active are male, and all the things that are passive and weak and pathetic are female.
Yeah, you call this
feminist. So if I noticed this, it was bad.
You called the sea. Come on, you called the sea like passive and I don't take it as like the sea. The sea is like, I mean, like think about the current in the sea and the strength of the sea and the beauty of the sea. It's like, and how much life is encompassed in the sea. It's like,
I don't think Hemingway was seeing it that way.
Well, I didn't see and women being compared to birds. I don't think that's a bad thing either. Like a shark, they're vicious. They were killers and.
I'd rather be a shark than a bird.
Oh, I'd rather be a bird. We could do a song. I'd rather be.
Oh, we gotta pick a book though. Jim hasn't picked in a while, but he's on stealth mode.
What's that mean? That he's on stealth mode? That he
when you can't see him or hear him. I don't know if that's a thing or just what my company call it. We call it at my company. We say go in stealth mode and do.
I never heard of it.
I don't know if other people say that or it's just, but
Well, so do you want to read something that, like, I wrote down No Country for Old Men, and Edith Wharton, The Age of Innocence, The House of Mirth, and the Tommy, that No Country for Old Men, Tommy Lee Jones was the actor. I'm thinking,
I don't know. And look, unless Christine, have you got any suggestions? I would like to skip another Hemingway-esque person to a month in a row. I'm good with doing the No Country for Old Men, but I'd like to skip a month before I have to read another misogynistic man.
Would you read The Age of Innocence again?
Yeah, I would definitely read The Age of Innocence again, but I don't. But have you read it? Christine's read it, but have you read it?
No.
I don't want people to have to reread something they've read if they don't want to. Oh.
No, I like it. I'm supposed to do at some point another book club with, not that I'm giving up this one, but sometimes it helps if it's one I've read already, because
that's true.
You never read the same book, once, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I always, like when we did Olive Kitteridge, I knew the first story like the back of my hand, so I skipped that one, but the rest of them I had to familiarize myself, and it's been a little while.
Yeah, I haven't read Age of Innocence since probably the early 90s. So yeah. I would read it again.
Is that like more of a female book, or is would Jim
it's more female for sure.
It's but it's
for sure.
But it's a classic.
Yeah, it's really good. It's so poignant. There's so many poignant scenes in there.
Yeah.
Is it? I mean, would you compare her to Jane Austen?
No.
No, she's no.
Her writing is much better than that,
and much more modern. I mean, like, I feel like she's like so like I don't know. She's so like I feel like she's so far ahead of her time. Like she does things in like the early 1900s that were like that I didn't see again. Like I was reading some book in like maybe 2 years ago. And like they were doing like all these like like little like witty asides in parentheses, and then I was reading an Edith Wharton book, and she was doing the same thing, but in 1912. You know what I mean? It was like just
yeah.
So like just like things you don't expect to see back then. Just I think she's great.
But. Well, she also like I find Jane Austen to be a little more curtly satirical. Whereas Edith Wharton's a little more gently satirical. She's not as sharp with wit like Jane Austen is. She's much more gentle than that. Her characters are like she does have social critique. That's a big part of her writing. But I think her characters are so much more in depth. There's such an interiority. And what's interesting, actually, now that I think about it, Age of Innocence is told from a male point of view. It's Newland Archer, his name is. Right. He's a male.
It's told from a male. And so how come you don't think like men would necessarily appreciate it?
I guess, it didn't even occur to me because it's about a guy who loves someone else other than the person he's married to. And I guess I thought because it's a romantic story in that way. So I didn't know if a guy would be interested in that. Yet it's told by a male's point of view. So I don't know.
True. I think that's
by a woman.
Yeah. All right. Let's read that, because I mean I think that's something some people have read, but it'll be easy to revisit. And like if anybody else happens along, it's easy to get at your library. So we won't have anybody whining that they couldn't buy because sometimes the book, if it's too new, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Let's try that. Let's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to have Tara's book, and we're going to say, "Oh man,
watch me hate it." Watch me read it again and hate it because I haven't read it in 25 years.
Well, you did.
Yeah, I bet reading her other stuff. So
you did like Olive Kitteridge, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love Olive Kitteridge. Yeah, that's one of my favorite books.
Yeah, I loved Olive Kitteridge. I was so glad that I read. I mean, I don't know that The Old Man and the Sea, that I would say that it was like one of my favorite books, but I wanted to read Hemingway, so I was glad that I read Hemingway, and I didn't find it torturous, like, and I thought his writing was like crisp, you know, it was, as you said, Christine, minimalistic, you know, it was, I could feel, I could feel what Santiago was going through, and I just thought it was a good simile to life itself. Like, you know, whether it be fishing or something else, you put all this effort into whatever it is that your profession is, or whatever it is, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, and what does it amount to in the end? Like, or like, let's just say you were like in sales. It's like, you know, you sell something one day and the next day you're right, you know, it's like, what are you going to sell for me today? And it's like that, I think, with everything, like, you know, that your professions are demanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think that was a good insight. But I feel like Hemingway, I feel like you came up with that and you're smarter than Hemingway. I don't feel like he got that deep. I don't feel like I don't know. I don't like Hemingway.
Well, he was pretty, I mean,
I don't like him, and I think anybody could write such stupid dialogue can't be that smart. I just feel like you can't write that badly.
Yeah, but think about this, like, Tara.
You would be able to write like real people talk. I feel like, has he never spoken to a real human being? Is he really that self-centered?
Yeah, but Tara, think about it. It's like the guy is a fisherman. He's spending 84 days out in the sea, like, fishing. This is his profession. This is like what he knows how to do. Like, he's not an intellect, you know, it's not, how do you think he would be, like, he spent 84 days by himself with the fish and just with nature. Where it's not like he's, you know, he's profound in any way. It's like, that's what I liked about it. Like, what was his dialogue? He was talking to himself. Like, how in depth was his,
but you know, do you speak that way to yourself? I love the fishes. I will love the fishes. Is that how you talk to yourself in your own head? I sure don't.
No, but I'm not a fisherman though either. I would never, like, I'm not the, I like, it doesn't appeal
but maybe
to
for
me.
you, maybe it's not about fish, but me, you know, but like, for me, it's about books, but I don't sit around going, I love the books. I will love the, I don't think that way. I don't think in these weird, stilted, overly formal sentences. It's weird. It's weird.
I find Faulkner like that.
A comma and a contraction here and there, I would have liked it a lot better, because like it just would have seemed more realistic. I feel like it was just so, it reads just like the submissions I get from people who don't read. You know, I mean, a lot of people out there think that they're writers, but they refuse to read. And my belief is that Hemingway wasn't a reader.
So how do you account for his success?
I think it was a lot easier to get published and to get a following back then. I think people weren't as sophisticated in the 50s. I mean, no offense, old people. But I just think, and I also think there's a lot of hype. I mean, I think he was one of the original celebrity authors. He was out there, you know, he was like, oh, I'm the most interesting man
World War One. He was between World War One and World War II. He straddled that. They call him part of the lost generation.
Terrible writers like F. Scott Fitzgerald. I mean, like,
but really? Gatsby. Gatsby. Oh man.
Gatsby is tolerable, but
it doesn't get much better than Gatsby. It doesn't get much better than that.
Well, Tara's only rated it tolerable.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's one of the best books in American literature. It really is.
What did we tried to read? The hell, I don't remember. We tried to read one of his other books.
Yeah, I think you said This Side of Paradise or Tender is the Night.
So I got about 30 pages and I said, I can't read, this is garbage. I can't read this. I won't. Life is too short to read such crappy literature. So
yeah, but man, he was a one-hit wonder with Gatsby. That you cannot dispense of Gatsby. It's amazing.
I give it a solid C+.
Oh my God, the narration alone. I had
to read it again. I haven't read it since high school.
Yeah, because also you got to think about it as a piece of art too. And like, that's why for Faulkner, that's why I like Faulkner.
Well, and I want to read Faulkner because I bought.
You're going to hate him. You're going to hate him.
I probably will because I hate
You'll
him.
hate him.
But
because he doesn't, more than anybody else, I think, he does not write like people speak. He does not. The dialogue is really stilted. It doesn't sound like it, but his writing, I mean, like I've had to look up what happened in some of his books because they're so confusing at times.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But his writing is so powerful. It's just so, he's a genius, quite honestly.
But if you don't know what it means, how is it powerful?
Yeah. You can feel it. You can feel the way the language is working on the page. And also he plays with time in a way that no other writer can do. Like he'll pull something and put it in the present day and then go back in time with one of the characters and then go forward and then go back again almost seamlessly. But his works are confusing. Like I taught Light in August. It's a rough read. It's really hard. I did have to go on like SparkNotes and just to make sure that I was getting some of what, in order to serve the kids well enough.
Yeah.
I had to like really make sure that I had it down, but he's rough stuff, but I just think he's a genius. But like I said, I read anything I've read on my own of his, like I read As They Lay Dying is sort of Faulkner light, sort of the way this is Hemingway light.
Yeah.
This Old Man in the Sea. That's Faulkner light, As They Lay Dying. But and it was actually inspiration for how I wrote my book with all the character names, because he does that. And but I read what's it called? The Sound and the Fury. Oh my God. Because it's from Macbeth. He says, life is full of sound and fury, a tale told by an idiot. Well, one of the chapters in the book is by an idiot, this guy Benji, who's mentally slow.
Oh,
and so the things he's telling you, you can't rely on him because he's mentally slow. He's an idiot. So you have to like wade through what he's saying and I looked it up online. I'm like, what is happening here? I was so confused. But at the same time, like I recognize I'm in the presence of greatness here, even though I'm lost. It's just not, it's a labor of love. And I've been reading these days anyway. I don't want to work that hard.
Christine, what is the
my
title?
audio is going crazy here.
Oh, my book is called 54 Holly Lane, but it's not out yet.
Oh, it's not?
Nope. I'm dying. I can't wait for it to come out. But
We're so close. We're almost there. I had to do the final read and send it to layout.
And what is 54 Holly Lane? I mean, is that is an arbitrary address, or is it where you grew up? Or
yeah, no, I made it up, but it's based on a family, and this part is true from my life. This part is.
I gotta go pee.
Go pee.
Okay.
We had to, my in-laws, we had to bail them out financially, and we bought their house, and they live in it with us. So that's the basis of the story, where you have this family moving into the house where my husband used to live in this house.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when he was a kid, he grew up here, and my in-laws were adamant about not leaving this house. They just did not want to leave this house. So we bought it and we fixed it up, and they're with us now. And it's about this family who has to kind of struggle through, and then there's other big events that happen. But basically it's told by 5 different characters. So their names are at the head of the chapter. And that's what Faulkner does in As I Lay Dying. He has like, so in other words, there's Tommy and Ashley and Peggy and the grandkids, Troy and Emily. And
so these aren't real names. You made these names up. They're not.
Yeah. A good amount of the story, the bones of the story, like the basic plot is my life. But then I took it off in all these other directions. And so it's fiction. I can't write memoir. I just can't do it. So I made it a fictional story.
Why can't you write memoir?
First of all, I feel like I'm violating someone. Even this book, my friend George is reading it, and he's like, he knows my life. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, everyone's going to hate you because my brother-in-law and sister-in-law show up. I change everything. I change their jobs. I change their kids. I change things like that. But it's still a boy and a girl, that my husband's siblings are. And he's like, they're going to hate you. But I like twisting reality around. I like creating patterns that because there's two, I will tell you this part. There's two pregnancies and that didn't happen in real life. But I like working with patterns. So if I have that and then, I can do a parallel that way. And in real life, that didn't happen. So I want to work it my way. So that's why I fictionalize everything. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah, we'll have a book club on that someday, right?
Yeah, once it's out. Yay.
Well, so what's how long is it going to take to get it out? Like what's
a year.
Well, yeah, it's probably about a year just because there's a book in line in front of hers. And although
unless we switch.
I know, but I don't want to say anything on video. So.
No, not at all.
But we'll figure it out. But
so, Christine, is this your first book?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I self-published some short stories, but that didn't go very well in terms of sales or anything. But I did do that, and then I've had some luck publishing stories online that I keep on my website. So, yeah, but this is my first book. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, tell me about what Everett's book is, and what is this movie deal that he got?
Oh yeah, 33 Cecils.
Here, I'm gonna stop recording us because we're venturing off the book. So the next book is Age of Innocence, Edith Wharton, and okay.